starting off with number 10, which is Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso from Rogue One. Rogue One is my personal favorite of the Disney-era Star Wars movies so far, and was really excited to get this one in the collection as one of the first Rogue One autographs in the collection. Now, I do have many other Rogue One autographs, but if I had to pick one, it'd be this particular one that would stand out of the group of those autographs. On to number 9, which is a collection of the 3 men who do play the Mandalorian on the Mandalorian TV show on Disney+. Those 3 men being Pedro Pascal as the voice and also the face of the Mandalorian, and then you also have Brendan Wayne, who does a lot of the kind of gunslinger types of stunts, created the walk, and he is also the grandson of John Wayne. And then you also have Lateef Crowder as one of the stuntmen. He does a lot of the brawler types of stunts, the more kind of fist fight and flipping around types of stunts that you see in both seasons 1 and 2 so far of The Mandalorian. Now, this particular autograph I did get through a private signing with the 3 of the Mandalorian men through Star Wars Autograph Universe, which is a wonderful group where a lot of these different autographs you're going to see today came from, both from their private signings and from buying from some of the members that have collected a lot of these different autographs over the years. Moving on to number 8, which is the collection of 2 of the men who played Darth Vader in the original trilogy. One being Dave Prowse, who was the body of Darth Vader in all 3 of the original trilogy films, who sadly passed away a few months ago. But he was a great man to meet. He did the convention circuit for a very long time, so you'll see a lot of different Vader pieces with him on there. And then, of course, the famous voice of Darth Vader, which is James Earl Jones, on here as well. This shot coming from my favorite of the Star Wars films, Empire Strikes Back, so this was definitely a must-have in the collection, as both a Vader fan and an Empire Strikes Back fan. For number 7, jumping a little bit into the prequel trilogy with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, last year in 2020, Ewan McGregor did do his first private signing, which I took a part of. This is one of the shots that I got, one of my favorites here. Ewan McGregor, in general, is one of my favorite actors. Obi-Wan Kenobi being one of my favorite characters. And no matter how you may feel personally about the prequel films, I grew up with them, and they were an important part of my love for Star Wars, and the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, was a major part of me falling in love with those films when I was growing up. So it was really meaningful to me to have an autograph from him in the collection, and am really excited to have it here in the collection with me. Moving on to number 6, which is the man himself, Harrison Ford, portraying Han Solo from The Empire Strikes Back. This particular autograph was obtained directly from Topps Authentics back at the end of 2019. Now, Han Solo being one of my favorite Star Wars characters, Empire being one of my favorite films of all time, and of course filling out that full trio of the main 3 of Star Wars, it's always great to have a Harrison Ford in your collection, whether you have a separate photo like this, you decide to get him on one of your posters that have lots of other autographs. It's always great to have at least Harrison Ford in your collection if you are a serious Star Wars autograph collector. Moving into our top 5 and starting with number 5 is the princess herself, Carrie Fisher. Now, unfortunately, I personally was never able to meet her before she passed away at the end of 2016. I did many years ago see her at a convention that I was attending, just see her from a distance, but unfortunately was not able to meet her in person. This particular autograph was obtained about a year ago, and does represent my favorite of her looks in all 3 of the original trilogy films, which is her look and Bespin at the end of Empire Strikes Back. So this is an autograph that does mean a lot to me, as Carrie was one of my favorite in the Star Wars universe, Princess Leia being one of my favorite characters, and of course, as a remembrance to her and what she represents to every one of us Star Wars fans. On to number 4, which is Hayden Christensen from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, who played Anakin Skywalker in the prequel films. Now this one's here on a more personal type of level. Star Wars Celebration 2019 was my first Star Wars Celebration that I ever personally attended, and when I found out that Hayden Christensen was going to be one of the main guests, that got me more excited than just going to the convention at all in general. And the moment that I was able to finally meet him really meant a lot for me. As stated earlier, the prequels were kind of my introduction to Star Wars, other than watching the original trilogy on VHS, but the prequels came out at a perfect time, at a perfect age for me, and Hayden's portrayal as Anakin Skywalker was one of the most important things to me as I was growing up and growing my love for Star Wars. So when I met him, I was a little starstruck, and I will always fondly remember the greeting and the moment that I got this specific autograph, and will always cherish it as one of the most important and meaningful pieces in my entire collection. Moving on to number 3, now in our top 3 picks, the first one here being a Dave Filoni signed sketch of Ahsoka. Now this is a recent purchase of mine, and this is one item that was on my bucket list per se of autographs to get in the Star Wars collection. It is a big sketch. It takes up about 11 by 14 size, full page sketch of Ahsoka. Now, the seller that I bought this from had 2 separate sketches, one of Ahsoka, one of a clone trooper, both signed and sketched by Dave Filoni. I picked the Ahsoka one because I felt like that was the most important character of his own personal creation, that not only was important to the animated series, but also is continuing to be important as Dave Filoni continues to grow The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau. So this is a great piece hanging up on my wall, and excited to have it in the collection. Moving on to number 2, which is quite arguably could be the most important character in all of these Star Wars saga films, which is Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. Now, similar to my story about Hayden Christensen at Star Wars Celebration, back in 2017 at New York Comic-Con, I got the opportunity to finally meet Mark Hamill and get his autograph, which you can see right here. This is one of those moments that being able to see the man in person that represented one of my heroes growing up, and was one of the most important actors to me growing up as well, not just from Star Wars, but also him as the Joker in Batman the Animated Series, an important voice in my life and both my family's life growing up. So being able to meet him in person was really important, and probably the most starstruck I've been out of many different celebrities I've met at cons and events over the last 30 years of my life. It was a moment that I'll never forget, a moment that I will always treasure, and that's why I always keep this autograph not just high on my list of Star Wars autographs, but also any autograph of any celebrity I've met over the course of my life. On to the final item here, and our number 1, which is a dual signed item of Alec Guinness and the main man himself, the creator of all things Star Wars, George Lucas. This item was a gift for my birthday last year from both my wife and my brother. It is a piece that is the centerpiece of my Star Wars autograph collection, hangs up on the wall, matted in a nice professional frame. It has both, once again, Alec Guinness and George Lucas on there. The Alec Guinness autograph being a little bit faded in those cases, but still extremely happy to have that in the collection, as Alec Guinness was not only an important character playing Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, but also him being an important actor to the history of film. And then, of course, the man himself, George Lucas, who we wouldn't even have Star Wars if it wasn't for his creative mind and his passion to get those 3 original movies out and get them into the pop culture. I'd like to thank you for spending some time today going over my personal pick for the top 10 Star Wars autographs in my collection. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for additional content and updates on future videos. And always remember, keep on collecting.